would like to thank His Excellency Dr. Rashid Aleem to give me an opportunity to be part of this panel group to discuss the energy management. And all our panelists, I would like to welcome on behalf of Aleem Congress, Business Congress, Mr. Dallin Kay, President and CEO of Diamond Energy, Mr. Lalu Samuel, Chairman and CEO, Kingston Holdings, Sharjah, Mr. Ing Rudolf Edinger, CEO, Aqua Engineering, and Mr. Krishna R.S., General Manager, Al Gandhi Electronics, Dubai. To Mr. Dallon, so my first question is, what are the present and future challenges with respect to energy management's perspective?
In response to the question around current and future challenges, I think it's really quite a unique time in our sector. Some of the things that we're seeing right now already starting to play out, but trends that we think will continue. One, in a low-priced environment. I think Richard just talked a little bit about pricing. Demand is elastic, not inelastic. And what we're already starting to see in Singapore, where our pricing is reset every quarter based on oil prices in the oil market, is a low-price environment. And this is leading to increase in demand. Of course, it's cheap. People don't necessarily value the resource at the same level as if we're in a $200 barrel environment. So that's one challenge that I see. Second, demand growth is significant, and that means more investment. And investment is costly. So this is something that the planners need to contend with, where we are wanting to support an expanded mental landscape is to move away from just planning for the peak and look at planning for average demand growth, and then perhaps technologies can support the peaking demand areas.
Is to Mr. Samuel, that in the present geopolitical situation, with the reduced oil prices and etc. So, what are the challenges to the energy management solutions and the implementation with this perspective?
See, the global challenge for energy we've been hearing for the last few hours about water. Water, power and air, it is essential for life. So water, we discussed about water, the challenges of controlling water. Power is next, it's all linked. So cost, consumption and carbon. Basically, if you look at controlling cost, consumption and carbon, it is all interlinked. So the current situation here today is that power is artificially generated. We don't get power naturally. And the population growth is tremendous, industry growth is tremendous, requirements of people are growing very fast. If you look at today's situation, like you can see hospitality industry, tourism industry, food preparation, food storage, transportation, everything is increasing on a day-to-day basis.
What are the challenges you see in this perspective?
The biggest challenge is really to optimize the systems we have with regards to efficiency. That is really efficient use of energy, different kinds of energy, let it be electricity, let it be oil, gas, whatever, and adding new resources of generating energy from renewable source, also to take counter activities against global warming, which I believe is the biggest threat, which is man-made to a certain level, and it has to be man-made to control and do sufficient measures that we can prevent, that we can also have a similar lifestyle in the future for our children and grandchildren as we have today. So its efficiency is one. Technology is a facilitator here. We have lots of technology. I mean, we have so much technology already, but we are not really using that technology as well. we are not integrating that technology really to take advantage of the synergies these technologies can generate. And we are also lacking education. I think education is a core pillar really for me as a challenge to permanently work and work on a constant improvement.
What are the challenges in order to implement ISO 50001 in the government and private sector? So what are the challenges you see?
Good morning, everybody. I thank Dr. Rashid for giving me an opportunity to share the information on how challenges create opportunities. Before trying to give an answer to your question, let me give a brief of what today the industry where I belong to, what and how it is contributing, what are the challenges before we get into the opportunities. In general, for the last almost 3 to 4 decades, what we have been observing is lighting, which forms almost 30 to 70% of the energy consumption in many of the commercial applications and 5 to 25% in a certain industrial applications, is given the least importance, which itself is a challenge. What we practice is what we preach. Now, the moment the whole world started talking about energy, how many of us gave a little bit of importance to it and started doing it ourselves, like do it yourself, the practice of changing the high energy consumption light points at your home, at your workplace. In fact, I would proudly say that the moment the importance of energy started getting into my mind, the first thing which I did was changed all the high energy consumption light points at my home to energy efficient light points without measurement, because at that point of time, at those days, the value of measurement was not really visible. The next biggest challenge we have is low consumption, high output. It's a challenge for every manufacturer. How to give the best, whereas reducing with low consumption of energy. The third biggest challenge comes in is identifying the needs. During the last 2 to 3 decades of experience, what I could find is many of the end users, the consumers, are not able to identify how exactly they can save energy when it comes to a simple lighting. A few steps which I thought, which I could share. First, in order to identify the lighting needs for the specific application, the space design and the utilization has to be first categorized. Can a portion of daylight influence your needs is another very important factor. Another challenge coming into the lighting is wastage. How much of light gets wasted in many of our installations, and the result of it is how much of power leakage goes into the installation. So what kind of an effective installation are we doing? Another very important challenge again for the manufacturers is the component selection. Are you trying to use the right product for the right application?
What are the opportunities in the energy sector towards implementation of the energy management system, and what may be the success rate?
I think just touch on, I think what Rudolph mentioned earlier is resistance to change and mindset. So Diamond, our mission really is to change the way electricity is consumed. And really what we're talking about when we say that is behavioral change and mindset shift. Generally, we all want to make a contribution, but it's difficult to expect significant behavior modification without incentive. This is the reality that we see out in the world when it comes to facility managers at hotels or energy managers at production facilities. So what we have designed, so there's an opportunity to address this through awareness and